शिवजी सदा
जय गुरु जी की।
शुक्राना गुरु जी। जर्रे जर्रे में उनका नूर है, झांक ले खुद में वो तुझसे ना दूर है। क्यों बंदे तो इतराता है, ये इबादत नहीं तेरे बस की। जब वो मौज में आए आप ही कराता है। संगत जी, this ibadat, this love for Guruji wouldn't have been possible had he not wanted it, had he not ordained, and had he not blessed us to be able to call him ours, to be able to witness his grace, to be able to be amongst the chosen few. Shukrana Guruji. Like last week at Guruji's behest and with his grace and blessings, we have assembled yet again with one of his child who had the fortune to meet him in his human form, who has galore of experiences of witnessing his both tangible and intangible grace. Now, without any further ado, I, with utmost reverence and folded hands, request MP Singh uncle to kindly unmute himself and relay whatever Guruji allows him to. Uncle, please. Uncle, you can unmute yourself. MP uncle and Usha auntie, you can unmute yourself.
Jai Guruji.
Jai Guru.
Signa, uncle is going to use my phone because there's some hit in there.
No worries, auntie, no worries.
Jai Guruji, can you hear me?
Yes, uncle, we can hear you. Jai Guruji.
जय गुरुजी। गुरुजी को अनंत प्रणाम, पूरी संगत को प्रणाम। It's a privilege and a wonderful opportunity to be with you, to share some of my experiences with Guruji. So thank you for giving me this opportunity. We met Guruji, rather he invited us, he allowed us to meet him in the year 1998. And the circumstances were again like with many people. We had some difficulties in our life at that time. That took us to Guruji. So our second daughter was born with a few severe health issues, and one of them was asthma. And we tried to, get her treated actually all over the world, by all possible means, allopathy, homeopathy, Ayurveda, and even very unique treatments like the fish treatment in Hyderabad. But nothing helped. The doctors kept telling us that, she'll be fine as she grows up, but that was not the case. Things were not improving, and she continued to suffer and continued to have very, very, very severe attacks. And then, we moved to Singapore in the year 1996 for an expat assignment from US. Year 1998, we were in India for a short vacation. And as always, one of the main thoughts, one of the main worries I had was our daughter, was going to go to college in 2 years. And my concern was that, when her attacks happened, which were quite often life-threatening, we had some intuition and we could take precautions in advance because we could see what was happening. The symptoms were there, the attack was about to happen, and we could rush her to the hospital. We always had the nebulizer handy and some medications handy. My concern was that when she goes to college, university in US, who will take care of her? Attacks may happen when nobody would be around, possibly. Or even if somebody is around, they may not know what to do, or they may not be able to do it in time. So that thought bothered me so much. I didn't know what to do. So during that vacation in India, we went to the state of Karnataka. We went to Bangalore and then went to Mysore. In Mysore, our daughter had a very severe attack because one of the vegetations to which the asthma patients are allergic, which used to happen every 6 to 7 years in Mysore, was happening at that time. So anyway, that was probably also Guruji's doing his blessing. So she had a very severe attack, but fortunately, we had a very good doctor attached to the hotel there who took very good care of us, get care of our daughter. And of course, it was Guruji's blessing that she recovered. After that, we came to Delhi to return to Singapore. In Delhi, we visited our uncle, my father's youngest brother, Sri Prakash Singh, and he knew about our problem, our situation. So he spoke very cryptically. He said, अगर आस्था है तो मैं गुरुजी के यहाँ ले चलूंगा और गुरुजी की कृपा होगी। नहीं, उन्होंने कहा अगर श्रद्धा है तो मैं गुरुजी के यहाँ ले चलूंगा और गुरुजी की कृपा होगी तो बेटी ठीक हो जाएगी। So I didn't know what he meant by, what he said, but, anything was good, as far as, getting the daughter treated was concerned. So I said, yes, of course. So he asked us to come to his place that afternoon in Noida, and which we did. myself, my wife Usha, and our daughter, and he took us to GuruJi's place. And it took us probably an hour and a half to go from Noida to Empire State, where GuruJi's Darbar was at that time. And all during that 1.5 hours, I didn't ask him anything about GuruJi. He didn't tell me anything about GuruJi. So I had, had created my own image of, what I would see, that Guruji would be an older gentleman, sitting there in maybe white or gerua, clothes. And maybe, some people will be sitting around him, probably in quiet meditation, or maybe some, kirtan or bhajan would be playing, at low volume. So anyway, we went to Guruji's Darbar, and what I saw was totally different than what I expected. A very dashing young person, very flamboyantly dressed in very colorful clothes, was sitting in a singhasan, in a throne, and some people actually were, were pressing his legs, some ladies. So I was, it was something that and there was a very loud music blaring. It was something very foreign to my ears. It was Punjabi music. It was not Shabad. It was Punjabi music blaring with very high volume. So anyway, my uncle told me as we, were proceeding to his darbar, that just follow the drill. That means just copy what he was doing. So my uncle proceeded to, touch Guruji's feet, prostrated himself. I did the same. My wife and our daughter did the same. And as I was doing that, Guruji addressed me and he said, Ashok, aa gaya, baith ja. And, Ashok is the name, at home. So everybody in my family refers to me as Ashok. So I assume that my uncle had already told Guruji that he'll be bringing me. Later on, I was to learn that, of course, Guruji knew everything, and he addressed everyone who came by their first name. So anyway, we sat down. Later on, he gestured at us. It was a very crowded place. The hall was not too big. There must have been, must have been 150, 200 people there. So it was extremely congested. Everybody was sitting, as easily as comfortably as they could, which was still not very comfortable because we were squeezed. So anyway, and we could not find a place together. So my uncle was sitting somewhere else. I was sitting somewhere else. Wife and daughter were sitting somewhere else. So anyway, our Guruji afterwards, gestured to us. So we went to him. He asked us to come towards him. And then when we were with him, Usha started telling Guruji about our daughter, her difficulty and her illness. And Guruji very lovingly, very patiently listened for some time. Then he said, "Main sab janta hu." And then he raised his right hand and he said, "Kalyan kitta." And then he said, "Ja, baith ja." Then we came, went back to, where we were sitting. During that time, the routine was, langar was not always served. And if it was served only for some people because the logistical arrangements had not been completed yet. So the routine was that, during the Sangat, there will be a break during which, Guruji would give prasad to everybody. So everybody used to line up. Guruji would, give prasad to everyone one by one. And prasad would be either kada prasad, halwa, or, some laddu. And always, very full of ghee. So after taking prasad, we will come out of the darbar and we'll basically eat the halwa or laddu, and then we'll wash our hands and then go back in and take our place. So when we came out, we had some opportunity to basically interact a little bit. So when we came out, our uncle asked me and Usha, "What did Guruji said?" And Usha said, "Guruji said, Kalyan kitta." My uncle was so happy. He had such a big smile on his face. And he said, "Okay, beti theek ho gayi." So I didn't know what he meant, but what he said was, the daughter has been cured. So I didn't know I was not sure whether I believed him at that time, but that's exactly what happened. Our daughter was cured and she never had any issues ever with asthma. She had, never, ever. So anyway, that was such a beautiful experience. Guruji just, raising his right hand and saying, Kalyana Kitta, and took care of the major problem that was in our life at that time. I was so happy, that Guruji had taken care of, our problem, and basically given new life to our daughter. After that, I would regularly visit Delhi just for the purpose of, going for Guruji's darshan. Didn't have any other desire, but I felt so good. I felt so grateful that I thought, I must keep seeing Guruji every once in a while. Unke darshan karne chala jata tha. And every time I went, I went through an experience, and that was such a beautiful experience and was a very good learning experience. Sometimes the learning came much later, sometimes it happened immediately. And I'll give you a few examples. The very next time when I visited Delhi, I thought I would not trouble my uncle, and I'll go to Guruji's darshan myself. And I had some idea about where the place was, and my uncle had given me a phone number. He said, in case you need, you can call this phone number. This is Guruji, this is where Guruji's Darbar is. So anyway, at that, I didn't have a very good idea about the geography of Delhi. I didn't know the details. So I thought that Empire State was on the road that went from, I forgot the name of the place, where the temple is, to Gurgaon. So I gave the name, from there to Gurgaon road. And actually, that road was not that particular road. That road is Delhi Gurgaon road. So anyway, the taxi driver took me to the other road, and it was a winding road, narrower road. So I knew that, we were not on the right pace, and we ended up in Gurgaon, and still I didn't see any Empire State anywhere. So then we went back, and I called that phone number that, my uncle had given me. Somebody picked up the phone, and I told the gentleman that, we are lost, we are trying to come to Guruji's Darbar. So he gave very clear instructions to me, and I handed the phone to taxi driver, and he repeated the instructions to taxi driver too. And after that, it was very easy to, go to, Guruji's Darbar. So I was there, for the Sangat, for an hour and a half, 2 hours of meditation, and, sometime thereafter. After it was over and Guruji gave me permission to leave, I thought I should thank, the gentleman who helped us with the direction. So I asked a Sevadar there, that somebody, gave us very clear directions. I'd like to thank the gentleman. The Sevadar he said, that's not possible. I said, why? He said, यहाँ पे तो गुरुजी का हुक्म है कि एक बार जब संगत शुरू हो जाती है तो कोई फोन उठा नहीं सकता है. So, nobody could have answered your phone. So I didn't believe that. I said, somebody did answer my phone. So I asked another Sevadar there, and he did answer, he gave me the same answer. So, at that time, I just thought that is another of the chamatkar of Guruji. But all the chamatkars had, all the miracles had some lessons. And I was to learn that lesson much, much later. And the lesson was that, if you want a Guruji, if you really have a sincere, earnest desire to be with Guruji, to find him, he'll help you. He'll help you get there. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, it happened in a physical way, but you should understand the meaning in a more of a spiritual, context. That if you're seeking your Guruji, you don't have to worry about it. You'll find him. If that's part of your destiny, you'll have not have any problem at all. He'll get you to him. He'll make sure that you reach him. And similarly, there was another beautiful incident I want to share with you. My routine used to be, when I used to go to Delhi, that I'll go there Thursday. So my flight would, from Singapore would get there around, 11 o'clock, 11:15 p.m. I'm sorry, about 9:30 p.m. So by the time I'll reach, Guruji's Darbar, it'll be about 10:30 p.m. or so. And so I'll attend, whatever Sangat was possible on that day. And then Friday and Saturday, I'll come in, be in the Sangat complete, full time, basically participate fully. And on Sunday, I will basically excuse myself and take Guruji's permission to leave around 8:30 or so, because the flight used to be around 11:15 p.m., returning to Singapore. But one day I thought, I go to my Guru's Darbar and I get up on my own and leave, and that's not right, because my Guru should tell me, my Guruji should tell me, when I should leave, because, once I'm in his Darbar, he should be in charge. I should not take the liberty of leaving on my own. So that day I decided that I'm going to leave only when Guruji would tell me to leave. On that day, my uncle was with me and Usha was with me and some other family members were with me too. My uncle was sitting next to me. So as time passed, my uncle started, he started worrying, whether I'll miss my flight. So he kept telling me, Ashok, get up, you should go. Otherwise you'll miss your flight. So I didn't do anything for 2 or 3 times he told me. Then I said, it's not right. He's my family elder. I must get up for him. So I got up, approached Guruji, and Guruji smiled and waved at me and he said, "Baith ja, teri flight cancel." So I just came back and told my uncle, Guruji bolte hain, my flight has been cancelled. So then I sat down and he was also at peace, because he like me, he basically assumed that, flight has been cancelled. But after some time, after another hour or so, Guruji again waved, at me and asked me to come. When I went toward Guruji, Guruji said, "Acha, ab ja airport." So I took his leave and I went outside. My uncle, followed me. Usha also followed me. And it was so late that I was sure that I'll miss my flight. My uncle was sure that I'll miss my flight. So my uncle even told me, you'll miss your flight. So why don't you come back from airport here and we'll go home together? I said, okay. So anyway, I approached the airport. This was the old airport, which used to have 4 gates to enter the airport. As the taxi approached, from the perspective, you could see 3 gates at one time. So I was amazed by what I saw. The place was completely, full of, like every other time. There's so many people everywhere, so completely crowded, very chaotic, but there was not a single person in front of any of those gates to enter the airport. So anyway, I got down from the taxi, approached the gate. I think it used to be gate number 2 for Singapore Airlines. Nobody was there at the gate. I just quickly entered after showing my passport and my flight information. But then I didn't see the counter for Singapore Airlines, which used to be right in front. So then I turned back and asked the gentleman from the police, who used to sit there, to check the passports and flight details before they would let us enter. He said, Singapore Airlines ka yahan counter nahi dikh raha hai. What happened? So he said, you are very late. They have closed the counter, but why don't you go and see, maybe somebody is there who can help you. So anyway, I approached the counter, and as I approached it, there was a cabin behind the counter. Somebody came out from the cabin, said, "Are you Mr. Singh?" I said, "Yes." He handed me my boarding pass. So that was a little surprising, but not too surprising, because Singapore Airlines used to, and probably still do, they pre-print the business class and first class boarding passes. So मैंने सोचा कि, maybe this is the only boarding pass left. So he's handing it over to me. So then after that, I quickly filled out my embarkation card and went toward in the immigration desks. And now I was completely amazed. And now I was beginning to know what was happening. There must have been 6 or 7 or 8, lines for, and each of them was manned by somebody, one of the inspectors, from immigration department. But, and the airport was completely full, full of people, and it was totally crowded, like all the time, and it was a little noisy and a little chaotic, but, not a single person was there in front of any of those immigration, inspectors. So anyway, I'm just walking through. So I just, walk through there. I go down to the, the lounge, not the lounge, but the departure, hall. It used to be a very big hall at that time. If you remember, some of you may have seen it. You go down the escalator and there was a big hall, and it was again very crowded, full of people. And there used to be 2 gates, 2 doors for security check. And usually the security lines will be very long. It may take half an hour or 15, 20 minutes, or even longer than that, to go through security. Now I'm again witnessing the same thing that I just experienced. Airport is full of people. Everything is exactly as it always used to be. But there was not a single person in front of any of those two, doors for security check. So I'm just basically walking through. And I ended up, at the departure gate. I was the last person to enter the plane. They closed the, doors of the plane within a few minutes after I, was in my seat, and the plane took off. So it was just such a beautiful experience. I basically was walking through the whole airport without basically stopping anywhere, except for a few, moments, to get through immigration and to get through, security. So when I reached Singapore the next day, I called Usha and told her, Usha, please tell Guruji when you go next Thursday, because it was already Monday there, that, how beautiful my flight was. So anyway, Usha called me Friday, that week. And she said, she told me that, I didn't have to tell anything to Guruji. As soon as I touched Guruji's feet, he laughed and he said, tell me, how was uncle's flight? So just in case there was any doubt what was happening, Guruji made sure that, we understood what happened. Because Guruji about once in a while would say, मेरी शक्ति लगती है और लोग सोचते हैं coincidence था. So anyway, that was not the case. That our understanding was very clear that there was no coincidence. But Guruji, as usual, also reminded us that it was him who was doing that. And again, at that time, I thought it was a beautiful experience, another miracle of Guruji. Much later, I realized what had happened, and I want to share an important lesson that for me, and I'm sure it's for you too, if I share it. That day, I had decided that I'll leave only when Guruji would tell me to leave. So basically, I had surrendered. I didn't realize it, but I had surrendered. I had surrendered myself to Guruji, to his will. So this is a beautiful outcome that happened because I made the decision to surrender. So, the lesson there, of course, is that we should all surrender, as much as we can. And it's, much easier to say that than to do it, but, we must definitely make an effort. We should completely have full faith in our Guru and not question anything that's happening to us, because once we leave ourselves to him, everything will happen according to his wishes, if we leave ourselves to him. There was another beautiful experience of some of the, as I said, some of the experience had, we had the meaning I understood much later. Some of them were very clear because Guruji made it very clear. And this experience was again, one day, it was December of 1999. And, very few of us were left in the Sangat that day. My uncle was also with me. And on that day, after only 10 or 12 of us were left, Guruji said, let's go to Bade Mandir. So my uncle said, do you know where Bade Mandir is? I said, no, I don't, because I had not ever been to Bade Mandir till then. So he said, okay, why don't you come in my car? We'll go together and I'll drop you here and then you can go back to your hotel. So I said, okay. So I sat in, my uncle's car, and all the journey was not too, it must have taken 15, 20 minutes at that time because the roads were not very crowded. There were not too much, development around at that time, around Bade Mandir, etc. But anyway, during that short journey, my uncle was very angry and he kept saying, Guruji, he doesn't think, who he should bless and who he should not bless. He should discriminate between good people and bad people. There are people he should not be blessing because they are curse for the society. And what had happened on that day, a particular IS officer, a lady, had come, and she was known as one of the most corrupt, one of the most corrupt IS officials in the country. And quite often CBI would start investigating her case. And as when the investigation would start, this is what my uncle told me. She would come to Guruji's Darbar and she would be pressing, basically force herself on Guruji by pressing his legs and just being around him and take prasad, etc. And that would be good enough, and somehow the files will close and nothing will happen because she'll be blessed by Guruji. So my uncle was very unhappy because he saw the same thing happening that day, and his son, my cousin, was IG in CBI at that time. So I'm sure, he must have known it from him. So anyway, my uncle was very unhappy, and I knew that this lady had again come, and again she's going to get Guruji's blessing, and again she'll go back, and nothing will happen to her. And my uncle was a very, very upright, straightforward, extremely honest, very sincere police, man himself. He had served as Director General of UP Police, Director General of Assam Police, and Director General of BSF. So a very distinguished gentleman, who had also been given Padma Shri, and very well known for his honesty and sincerity and total commitment and dedication. And so he was extremely unhappy with what had happened that day. So anyway, we arrived at Bali Mandir. It was a December night, a cold night, dark night. The place was not very well lit at that time. So Guruji's car was behind us. So, we came out of our car and we were standing and waiting for Guruji to come. The Guruji's car came. And of course, once, he was around you, you can feel his presence. You knew his presence just by his fragrance. So the whole place became so fragrant, even though we were outside. And he passed us by, but he went only about 5 to 10 steps. Then he abruptly turned around, looked sharply at my uncle, looked straight at him, and he said, "Mahapurushon ki kripa har par barabbar." And these were his exact words, "Mahapurushon ki kripa har par barabbar." And then, as abruptly as he turned around, he turned back and went inside the temple, Bale Mandir, and we followed him. So the lesson, of course, you don't have to think about it. It was a very clear lesson. He explained it himself. GuruJi's blessing is same for all of us. We are all his children, and he does not differentiate. Now, what we do with his blessing is up to us. So I wanted to share that because, sometimes there is a feeling, I hear people talk about it, ki, ye Guruji ke bahut kareeb the, or he knew Guruji very well, or, he has so much experience of Guruji. And please, just get that thought out of your mind completely. Completely. No one has any advantage in their relationship with Guruji. We are all at the same level, and Guruji treats us all equally. He loves us all equally. There's no difference at all. Now, I used to, as I said, every time I'll go there, I'll witness so many beautiful experiences, go through those experiences myself. Guruji would be treating people, came there with incurable disease. People would come with severe heart problem, and he'll treat them by and things become severe diabetic problems, and he'll immediately cure them by giving them a lot of mithai and all kind of things. I mean, he'll do things that didn't make any sense, and they were immediately cured. So, all these experiences were so beautiful. I used to think, who is Guruji? Of course, he was not an ordinary human being. That was very clear. And then people started, I used to ask somebody and some Sevadas, and they would always say, "Oh, he's Shivji." So I assumed that he's Shivji, but I had no proof that he's Shivji. But then Guruji gave me proof one day. Guruji's instruction to me were that, Guru se kuch nahi puchte. He used to give me a lot of opportunity to sit with him alone. He would often call me in his room, or, just give me the opportunity to be with him when everybody is gone. But, I didn't have the courage to ask him any questions because, he told me not to ask him anything. But one thing that used to really puzzle me, I was so curious like a little child. I never saw, Guruji, Guruji would have his Sangat going on till 3 o'clock in the morning or even later sometimes. And then I was told that uske baad in the morning, early morning, right after that, Guruji goes in part, he does meditation. I used to wonder, Sangat goes on till, early morning, and then, Guruji goes in meditation. Then when does he sleep? Does he ever sleep? And I had read in Gita that Lord Krishna didn't used to sleep. So I thought, is Guruji like Lord Krishna? Does he also not sleep? So anyway, one day I was sitting alone with Guruji, where everybody had gone. There's only one gentleman left when he was sitting far, far away. So that day I thought maybe I should ask Guruji, maybe if he's unhappy, if he rebukes me, that's okay. I'm just by myself here. It'll not be very embarrassing. So उस दिन मैंने पूछा गुरुजी, गुरुजी आप कभी सोते हैं? Guruji smiled, and I tell you, I cannot describe his smile. That smile, I just drowned in love. There was so much love that I just can't tell you. I mean, I just felt that there was just love and love and love and love, and there's nothing else but love. And then Guruji spoke very softly, but very clearly. And he spoke in Shuddh Hindi, and I'll repeat his word. He said, मैं सोऊंगा तो सृष्टि को कौन देखेगा? Now, the unique thing was Guruji always spoke in Punjabi and Punjabi of his village, Dugri. So he spoke very fast. So most of the time, what Guruji said, I had no clue. And even when I understood something, I probably only guessed what he was saying. I was never sure that, this is what he said. But that day, on purpose, Guruji spoke in very, very clear Hindi. Obviously, he wanted to make sure I understood, what he said. And so he revealed himself. He said, if I sleep, who will look after the creation? Who will look after the universe? So basically that day he told me that he was Lord Shiva. And then of course, then the question that popped in my mind is, what if he's Lord Shiva, what's he doing here? And I didn't learn, I just assumed, I just took it for granted that of course, he's God, he's divinity, and he's there for us. But much later, as I read more about, things, and I read Shiv Puran and some other, scriptures, then I learned, what was happening. And I'll, explain, it is my understanding. So please forgive me if my understanding is incorrect, or if you differ from it. But my understanding is that, if you read Shiv Puran, etc., that, after Brahma's creation, when Lord Shiva looked at the creation, he was very disappointed because he saw all kind of problems, in the creation. There was so much greed, so much violence, so much betrayal, on and on and on. Kam, Krodh, Mad, Lobh, Moh, all these things, everybody was full of them, and everyone was causing each other and themselves, so much harm. So Lord was very, very disappointed, and he was very sad. So Brahma realized at that time what mistakes he had made, and he asked, Lord to forgive him and to correct his mistakes. And as described in the scriptures, Lord said, no, that was your responsibility. You have done that. But every once in a while, I'll go down to earth and take care of some of my disciples, some of my bhakts, some of my devotees, not disciples, some of my devotees. And then if you read Shiv Puran, the way it is described is the first time in this age, in this Manvantar, when Lord comes down to earth, all the Saptarishi and all the great sages come to, get his, wisdom to learn from him. And then Lord Shiva at that time teaches them what later became the Sankhya philosophy, which came to us through sage Kapil. And he teaches them that, there are two realities. The one is Purush, one is Prakriti. Each one of us is a Purush. Purush just means Atma, basically. And then there's a Prakriti, there's a material, world around us, including our body. And he explained that basically our problem is that we have lost touch with ourselves, with our Purush, with our Atma. And we have started identifying ourselves with the body, and we have become all attached to the things which are material, and these material things that we are attached to, they are not who we are. And that's where our problem is. We have to detach ourselves from these material things and reattach ourselves to him, to the Lord, to find, happiness again, to, find salvation. So the sages asked him, how do we do that? And then he explained how we do that is through yoga, through dhyan. And that is described, later by Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra as this, 8-step, process, which ends up in dharana, dhyan, and samadhi. I think most of you probably know that. And so basically we have to attach ourselves to the Lord, he told the sages, by dhyan and by meditation. And then if we meditate, we'll go in samadhi, which he'll help us with, because we can't do that on our own. And then when we go in samadhi, we connect ourselves back to him. And once we start reconnecting with him, we'll be able to get realize, our true self, will get enlightened, and we'll be then liberated from this cycle of birth and death, and we'll go back to him again. So this is described in the philosophy of Sankhya, which came to us through sage Kapil, and in the philosophy of yoga, which came to us through sage Patanjali. And if you, I'm sure you have heard about it, maybe you have participated in it. What Guruji used to do, basically, there used to be 2 hours of meditation, and this used to be a deep meditation. And all of us who went there, hardly any of us had any experience with meditation. But our meditation used to be so wonderful that I don't have words to describe it. You should probably check with other people too. And I used to go in such a beautiful meditation that I would basically lose track of everything. And when the music, when the Shabad will end and we'll again have to open our eyes, I always felt so bad, because it was like, such a beautiful spell was broken. So one day I decided, I said, maybe I should check and see if everybody else is going through the same experience that's unique to me. And with much effort, because I never felt like opening my eyes, or breaking that spell. One day I did. I looked around, and everybody was exactly in the same condition that I was in. Everybody, at least everybody I thought, their eyes were closed and they were totally spellbound like I was. And this is all our Guru's grace. We were not capable of that kind of meditation, but he used to put us into that meditation so beautifully, and that's how he was helping us to reconnect with him, to go into samadhi, through which our salvation is possible. So I wanted to share that with you, because essentially the gist of what we need to do is in dhyan, nothing else. Guruji used to often say कि telepathy से बात किया कर, not just to me, to everybody. He would say telepathy से बात किया कर. And the other thing he would always repeat to everyone is ash karo. So these 2 were the magic, words. These 2 were the magic lessons we should all learn from Guruji. First, telepathy se baat kiya kar means go meditate, practice dhyan. That is the only way to reconnect with me. And ash kiya kar means surrender yourself to me, so that leave everything to me. When you leave everything to me, you don't have to worry about anything. You don't have to be fearful of anything, because then I am in charge and I am taking care of you. So please remember, at least that is my lesson. You may have different perception, so I apologize if your perception is different and you take it differently. But my lessons were dhyan and surrender. These 2 are the most important lessons I received from Guruji that I wanted to share with you. There are a few other things that I want to share with you. One day Guruji took me on a ride. He asked me to come at a certain time in the morning. So when I came, he said, let's chalo sair karne chalte hain. So I didn't know what he meant. What he did basically, we went in a long car ride. And in Guruji's car, there was a DVD player. And DVD players, screen was in the back, on the back, but the DVD, player itself was in the front, with the driver. In that ride, Guruji, there must have been 100 plus DVDs, and I don't know where he got, where Guruji got them. And as the car started, and we went on a ride. Guruji, the driver started putting the DVD. He put the first DVD in the video player. Guruji watched it for maybe 5 seconds, 10 seconds, and he'll ask the driver to change it. And this process kept repeating. We had 100 plus, DVDs, and I don't know, we went through it very quickly. It seemed like, within less than an hour and a half or so. So Guruji didn't watch anything for more than 5-10 seconds. And I was wondering, why he's doing that. And the end of it, Guruji looks at me with so much love and he says, "Tujhe pata chala tere guru ko kya acha lagta hai?" So at that time, I thought, Guruji was telling me that, he enjoys watching such DVDs. But then, much reflection, it occurred to me, and of course, it's all only possible with his blessing, that Guruji gave a lesson that I wanted to share with you. All those DVDs, they were all homemade. And again, as I said, I have no idea where Guruji got them. He must have created them. And they were all about just ordinary, simple people just enjoying themselves, just dancing and just happy people. And all of them were like that. Some of them were like Bhangra, some of them were just like, some festivals going on, just people, dressed colorfully and dancing and enjoying themselves. So much later, I realized what Guruji was trying to tell me, that he wants us to be happy. That's what he said he likes. What he likes is for us, his devotees, to be happy. And we can be happy if we have full faith in him, that we leave our responsibility, our, the outcome of our effort to him, and not, get totally, engrossed in it and not worry about it, not be fearful of, what's happening, what will happen if we do this, are we going to reach, our goals, are we going to, get our ambitions filled, and all these things. So basically, we have to be happy, in his lesson is ash karo. But at the same time, he cautioned us. He also said life has ups and downs. And that's a very good lesson too, because we have created, our problems are basically of our own creation, with what we have done in our sanchit karma, in our past lives. And a lot of those things are going to haunt us. And we'll have some difficulty. But our guru will minimize those difficulties by taking most of them upon himself. That is the law of karma, is created by Brahma. Law of karma is very simple if you read about it, that it can, it cannot be taken away from us. हमारे जो कर्म के जो फल हैं, we have to suffer them, except somebody else who is capable of it can take it upon himself and suffer for us. And that's what our Sadguru does. That's what Guruji did. Guruji does. He takes the burden of much of our karma on himself, and he suffered for us. He was always in pain and always suffering. And Guruji used to tell us, कि तलवार हटा देता हूँ, बस सुई छोड़ देता हूँ. He used to tell us कि, just a little bit of all your karmic, fall, I leave for you to, basically suffer. I take most of it upon myself. And he suffered a lot. He suffered a lot. He was always in pain. There was always some illness that he had. I think many people who who saw him, more closely, knew that. But, I want to share with you something that's very important that we should all, realize. And this comes from, great sages, one of them being Adi Guru Shankaracharya. He wrote a beautiful, he wrote hundreds of books, but one of them, Vivek Chudamani, you can buy it or you can see it, you can Google it. It's a very, it's not a very thick book, it's a very thin book, but it's full of wisdom. Vivek Chudamani itself means basically nuggets of wisdom. And in the very beginning, just within a few pages, he tells us something that is very important that we should all know. He said that there are three things which are possible only with Bhagavad Kripa. That's the word he uses, Bhagavad Kripa. And he said the first is human life, human birth as a human being. So let's not take that for granted. It's something that we have been able to be blessed. And it's something that's not available to everybody. There are so many souls possibly, and I don't know how you want to interpret it, but only few are born as human beings. And the second, he said, is a spiritual curiosity. I forgot the exact words he uses in Sanskrit, but it basically means spiritual curiosity. So there are so many human beings, but very few have spiritual curiosity. So I'm assuming that we all have some. That's why we found our guru, or we have an interest in our guru. And the third, and he said, this is the ultimate. There's nothing, no higher blessing beyond this. And he said, that is Sadguru himself. If you have found your Sadguru, you have reached your destination. There is no higher destination. There is no higher blessing possible. So because once we have found our Sadguru, he is the one who holds our hand and takes us back to him. And it may happen quickly, or it may happen over many lives, but it will happen. And if it happens over a long time, that's our own mistake, because then we are not following what our Sadguru expects of us. And what does our Sadguru expects us of? Our life is karma sarpradhan. Basically, what that means is, karma is most important. So we have to watch and make sure that our karma remain correct. That's what expected of us. That's what it's very simple. It's no magic in it. And what Guruji used to tell us, these things in a very simple words, like don't hurt anyone. Always he would remind us, don't hurt anyone. Keep your karma correct. Gupt jap karte raho. He would say, Gupt dan karte raho. I mean, we are all from him, so we are all connected. So, dan is very important, because all we are doing is sharing with ourselves. And it comes back manifold back to us. Experiment and do it yourself and see. And Gupt jap karte raha karo. And I had a very beautiful experience with Gupt jap. Maybe I could quickly share it. Once I learned that Guruji, is Antaryami, he also knew basically beyond Sarvagya, which he knows everything, he's also Antaryami. He is also Antaryami, means he knows exactly what we are thinking. Once I understood that, and he made sure I understood that, by, giving me some experiences. Once I understood that, then I had difficulty. I had one dilemma. I said, I can't control my own thoughts. A lot of ugly thoughts, a lot of bad thoughts, a lot of wrong thoughts, cross my mind. And, at least when I'm in his Darbar, at least at that time, even though I can't control it elsewhere, at least at that time, these thoughts should not be crossing my mind, because that's so embarrassing. I'm in front of my Guru and, get these thoughts. So I said, what to do? And then I thought, maybe I'll just keep doing job. If I keep doing job, then my mind will be basically in the job, and like these thoughts no other thoughts will come. And that's exactly what I experienced. I used to just say, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivji Sada Sahai in my own mind, in mind. That's a mantra Guruji gave us all, Om Namah Shivaya, Shivji Sada Sahai. Later on, Sangat people insisted on adding another line, Om Namah Shivaya, Guruji Sada Sahai. But you don't have to worry about that. Om Namah Shivaya, Shivji Sada Sahai is the mantra he gave us. So I just used to repeat that quietly, sitting there. And it was good, because then, I'll be so engrossed in job that I would not think about anything else. Then one day, it went on for a long time. One day, Guruji called me in his room, and then he said, he was so happy. He said, बहुत अच्छा करता है. जैसे जाप करता रहता है, ऐसे ही जाप किया कर. So, he just made sure, of course, he knew what I was doing, but he made sure that he reinforced exactly what I thought was, was important. Then, look, we must keep doing jap as much as we can. So Guruji कहते थे, गुप्त जाप किया करो, गुप्त दान किया करो. Now, what happens in our sangat these days, गुप्त जाप नहीं होता. These japs are done very, vocally, and you can hear them. But Guruji's instructions were, and that's what we should follow. The jap should be gupt jap. Just keep repeating them mentally in your own head as much as you can. Gupt jap kariye, gupt dan kariye. Gupt dan, Guruji used to say, give with the right hand, and your left hand should not know about it. So gupt jap, in gupt dan, he used to emphasize again and again, and never hurt anyone. And he used to say other things, and these things are exactly same thing as what he will read in Patanjali's Yoga Sutra. If you read it, there are 5 yam and 5 niyam he gives us. And Guruji basically would repeat the same thing, because that's what he told in the beginning to the 7 sages, the Saptarishi and other great sages. So please follow that. Surrender yourself to Guruji as much as you can, and don't be unrealistic. The problems will happen, but they will be kept within limits by his grace. He knows exactly how much we are capable of bearing, and he would not let our troubles, our problems, go beyond that limit. But allow him full control. We must do what we want to do. What is our purusharth? But don't be too tied with the outcome, because effort is, what is important. And, that's what we are here for. That's what in life should not be wasted. We must achieve our dreams. But basically the only way to achieve our dreams is through our effort, and we must make the best effort to achieve those dreams. Beyond that, leave the outcome to Guru, our Guruji. He'll decide what is right, and all those things will happen. And in time, even when we are disappointed and things didn't go right, ultimately we'll learn what had happened and why things not going right or seemingly not going right at that time was the best thing that could have happened. So please, and I want to share with you another important lesson I learned, and I hope it's a correct lesson, because somebody may differ and may have a different opinion. Guruji, people would often ask Guruji, Guruji, kya khana chahiye? Because what they were wanting to know from Guruji is if eating meat is okay. And Guruji would, most often ignore that question. He'll just smile and not say anything. Once in a while, he'll say, kya main kuch kahunga to karega? Will you do what I tell you to do? But, occasionally, very rarely, he would say, kyun? Apne guru ko laashon ke beech mein rakhega? So what he was saying is, don't suffocate your guru with dead flesh by eating dead flesh. Now think about what that means. That means our guru is inside us. We don't have to run after our guru anywhere. He is very much inside us. So we must take care of where he is, right? And the other thing he would say quite often, and we have to combine it together. He would say, "Jahan main hu, wahan mandir hai." Our temple is also inside us. So he is inside us, the temple is inside us, and the only way to reach him is through dhyan. So everything is in our control. We don't have to worry about anything else. We don't have to run to a temple. Don't have to go on a pilgrimage. I mean, those things are good, do it. We don't have to worry about langar, about jal prasad and all these things that we make too big a deal of. Of course, enjoy it and do it. But basically the solution is within ourselves. The salvation is within ourselves. Our guru is in ourselves. Our temple is in ourselves, and we can achieve everything through dhyan by connecting with him. But of course, we must take care of what is there. So if our guru is in ourselves, then we must eat right. We must exercise. We must take care of our temple, and we must do what is correct. Physically, and spiritually both. So I want to leave with that thought that we don't have to run anywhere. Our Guruji is inside us. Our temple is inside us, and we can reach our Guru. We can reach salvation. We can get whatever is correct ultimately through dhyan. So just please, and you may reach your own outcomes. You may reach your own conclusions, and they may be different from my conclusions, and that's perfect too, because your conscience, your experiences should be your judge, not what somebody says. So please, everything I have said, take it with a grain of salt, because those are essentially my thoughts, my perceptions, my experiences, my learning. But hopefully some of them at least should be of some help to you. With that, I'd like to thank you for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts with you, to share some of my experiences with you. And thanks to Guruji, Anant Pranam, for allowing me to be in his grace. Jai Guruji.
Jai Guruji, Shukrana Guruji Maharaj. Thank you, Uncle. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. And of course, endless Shukrana to Maharaj for letting you do so. And so many takeaways, but the biggest remains invariable, that leave everything to him. Of course, do carry out your responsibilities, but let him take care of what follows next. Give him the reign of your life. Shukrana, 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 Guruji, and thank you once again, Uncle and Auntie. Thank you. Thank you, Sangat ji. Thank you for joining. Agya Maharaj, Agya Sangat ji.